Hi, I'm Angie Lee, the host of Leadership Narratives podcast. I've been leading teams since my 20s and have coached leaders from the world's most admired brands like Amazon, Google, American Express, Pfizer, Apple, Microsoft, and many others. On every episode, I'll be bringing on top leaders from companies you know and love to give you mini leadership masterclasses. Week after week, you'll uncover and model your leadership voice that will make a mark on the world. Subscribe to the show to get notified of every new release. Welcome to Leadership Narratives. This is a podcast featuring a collection of intimate conversations with industry giants, trailblazers, and game changers across multiple different disciplines on what it means to make a mark on this world. And today I have an exciting guest with me. Will here is a change agent, a diversity champion, executive coach, life coach, and an Agile coach. Wow, many titles here. Leveraging deep IT experiences to optimize efficiency improvements and productivity while developing people and processes to improve organizational performance. He has 33 years of experience in IT. He's also a public speaker, a coach, and trainer from the John Maxwell team that inspired his creation of the I Will Aim leadership program. And I can't wait to hear more about this program, where he teaches leadership, teamwork, and new ways of working, business communication, and presentation. So with that, Will, what did you have for breakfast today?
Oh, I actually fast today. I decided that working from home, I want to fast. It's one of my commitment to being healthy. You're born with one mind and one body, and you're supposed to take care of it because it needs to last a long time. So I always make sure that I try to take good care of myself.
Wow, that's amazing. And even with that simple question of what did you have for breakfast? I mean, we have all this wisdom that's being spilled out. I love it. Will, can you tell our audience a little bit more about your background and how you became a leader?
How did I become a leader? I didn't plan to be a leader, by the way. I just want to start with a caveat. I started my career as a software developer, and I love to develop software because when you develop software, your user use it and you see the smile on their face. You make things better for them. And throughout my journey, I started learning that working in teams is important to the success of not only. So I was focusing on learning about being a good team player, good at being a good team member. So that's where I focused my energy on early in my career. And then at some point, I had the opportunity to lead a small team of 7 people. And that's where I realized, wow, I didn't have a leader or team lead for dummy. So what do I do now? So it's a little bit of learn as you go, make mistakes, learn from mistakes, be authentic to the people that you have. And then over time, it just inspired me to learn more about how to be a good leader. And over the course of my career, I met a lot of people who are many great leaders, some not so good leaders, and I learned a lot more from them. And I slowly compile a list of how to be a better leader. And then looking back to my journey, I vividly remember back then I was telling my dad, we have helper that helps us in the store. Why you and I have to do all of this? And he always said that you don't ask people to do what you won't do yourself. And then looking back many, many years later, I'm like, that's leading by example. Dad, wow, I didn't even think of that. And my dad always said, when he's buying food or things like that and giving to everyone, he always eat with them. It's like you treat everyone the same way. You don't treat someone differently because they're a higher up. You don't treat people who are helping you differently because they're just helping you. And that actually reinforced the fact that I always taking the time to say hello to the people at the front desk when I go to the building, the security guard, I always said hi, make sure I know their name. And first name basis, people laugh about that. Every people that helped clean the building, they're a superhero for me. It's so important for us to treat everyone with respect. So to me, that all boils down to my dad's leadership capability and ability. And I'm looking back at my career, I was like, wow, my dad was teaching me a lot about leadership, even though he himself probably didn't know their leadership quality.
When I think about, what you just said, making sure that whether it's a janitor or someone that's serving us food or someone that's really helping us with mundane tasks or just anyone in general in life, the fact that we need to recognize the value that they're adding to, I guess, each other's lives and all of our lives in a way that is that makes this world, more effective in the way we do things because everyone serves a purpose. And I love the fact that you lead with the mindset of, having a servant leadership at heart. Talk a little bit about any sort of barriers you faced in developing people for leadership positions, because I know you mentioned, starting out with 7 team members, and as you were becoming a leader yourself and developing others, I'd love to hear more about what kind of barriers you faced in that process.
I think some of the barriers that I face are some of my upbringing. One of the things that I learned, my dad always said, never brag about the things that you do. Don't tell people what you're doing. Just do your work, right? Just do your work and make sure you do a good job. And that only takes you to a certain level. And up to a certain level, you need to also learn how to sell what your people are doing, talk about the work that your people are doing. So it's kind of contradict with the culture that I came from, that I grew up from, that don't talk, it's boasting, right? And then somewhere in my career, I got stuck because I'm not telling people what I do, even though I do a lot of good work. And some people know who I am. Then I had to learn that. And once I learned that, I have to now work outside my comfort zone, saying like, oh, I'm doing this, but I'm not boasting. But I really need to do this because my team would get more recognition. And learning that over a period of time helps me, accomplish, get promoted to the next level, but also help me unlearn the things that I learned before that were good. But then at a certain point in time, it doesn't work anymore. So you sort of have to unlearn something and relearn something else. Once I traveled to Singapore as a consultant for a year, learning different culture, people from all across the world. And then eventually when I came to US, the diverse culture and understanding and being sympathetic to people, right? Being more sensitive to the cultural indifferences. I think those are the things that it took me time to learn and took me time to be more conscious about it and be mindful about it. And therefore, diversity to me is so important, not just from gender perspective, but even opinions, ideas, and things like that, making sure everyone's voice is heard, people are being more inclusive. I think a lot of those are, even to this point in my career, I had to remind myself, right? Because sometimes you fall back to your old ways. Sometimes it happens. You just fall back to your old ways. There's certain things that you do, and you do it a certain way. And I kind of have to force myself, like, no, you got to change. You got to figure this out. Like, let's pause, let's reflect, and let's figure out what other ways can we do this differently.
I love
And
that.
it's hard, and it's really hard.
So, Will, you talked about having cultural competency, right? And especially when you traveled to Singapore and other parts of the world, living and working in America. One thing that I often hear from my clients, and especially from clients that come from diverse backgrounds, is the fact that they have to learn how to be American, right? So when you think about the Asian perspective, or working out in Asia, is it the opposite of that?
I think what I believe is no matter where you go, you have to assimilate. You have to assimilate to the culture and the environment you're going into. So therefore, when I decided, when I was in Singapore consulting and got an opportunity to come here, that I need to adapt. I always felt adapting is an important part how we do things and how we add value to people. So that mindset I had, that when I go to US or America, I need to learn how people interact with one another. I need to learn the culture. I need to adapt, right? And I still need to keep my identity as a Chinese person, because even for my kids, we celebrate Chinese New Year, Mooncake Festival. The culture, we keep it so my kids would know it. But a lot of things I do, I adapt, interact at work. Being a Filipino Chinese, when you're at work, people see you and says, hey, start speaking to me in Tagalog or speaking in Chinese. I speak to them in English, and I always explain why. I don't want people to misconstrue that we're talking about them, right? That we're talking about other people. I want to be sensitive about that. So sometimes people think that I'm a snobbish, like a bit like, well, because you're up there, you kind of like have an attitude. And I try to explain myself. I said, I know it's important that, especially you have in a leadership position, that you actually are careful about how you conduct yourselves. And therefore, I need to make those adjustments to make sure that I don't, offend anyone. I don't make people think that I'm favoring one or the other, right? I think it's all of this thing that it's a bit complicated, but over time you kind of learn how to do it.
Everyone's journey is so unique and different. And one of the things that people often forget is, and especially in the living in the digital era where we can't help ourselves but compare our lives, scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and seeing how fabulous our friends or friends of friends are, charting a yacht or going on fancy vacations, and we start to think, oh man, why am I not in Paris right now, shopping in Milan or whatever it is? But, I think we often forget that because our lives are so different and our journeys are so different that we cannot compare, what you are going through, what you've been through, to what the next person or the person after that, because of our uniqueness. I think that's what we need to start to celebrate, because uniqueness in many ways brings us together. What would you say has been sort of the most rewarding moment in your career as a leader?
The most rewarding moment in my career is seeing my people grow and develop, because I invest a lot on my people. And I always tell people that no matter I'm in a technology organization, I'm in a people business. People are my most important asset. I always tell people that if you have people who you cared for and you focus on growing them, they'll become more committed to do the work that needs to get done. And thereby, that helps the organization achieve its goal. Because I believe that by investing in them, I increase the capacity of the organization. John Maxwell said this, that leader multiply, right? Leader don't add. Leader who invests in a person, that person turn around and invest in 5 people. Not just 1, 5, because the 5 people that they interact with, they add value to them. I focused on a lot, and that's what people always said, like I'm more a people person. I'm not a people person because I'm a social person, but I'm a people person because I'm genuinely interested in you as a person. What makes you tick? What do you come to work? The hardest part is when you develop them and they become so good and they have to move on. And having that conversation with you is saying, I'm really sorry, Will. I landed this great opportunity, pay me more remit, more responsibility. And I said, I'm really happy for you, right? And I said, I'm really happy for you. It's like, you're not mad at me. I won't be mad at you. Am I sad? Absolutely, right? I'm sad. You're going to go. But this is why we're here. This is why we did what we did. It's for you to grow. And now, I always said, the eagle is ready to fly.
That's beautiful.
So it's like, as a parent, you're willing to let your child move on to be an adult, not teenager anymore. My eldest is 20. She's a young adult. She's a lady. She's a junior in college, and my younger one is going to turn 18 next month. So to me, learning how to let go of my eldest and say, you're now a young lady. We went to college, more space, more time for you to be by yourself.
I love that. So when you think about the traditional mentorship model, right, it's usually a mentor and a mentee. More recently, that traditional model has sort of flipped, right? So now there's a reverse mentorship where younger folks are now starting to mentor, more senior, more executive folks. Are you seeing any of those trends in your world?
Yes, even my mentee, they're mentoring me, because one of the things I try to do with my mentee, I learn about what they do. I ask them questions about the things that they do, the work that they do, the challenges they face. Not so much about me giving them insight, but I'm also learning from them. So many times when I do talks about mentoring, I said it's a two-way street, because the more I spend time with my mentee, the more I learn about that area of the business that I'm not even familiar with. And then I grow my knowledge in that. And sometimes we spend time and I'll be just asking them questions versus them asking me questions. And to me, it's a flip, right? And I always believe that each generation could teach each other different things, right? Even the younger generation, technology, how innovative they are, how different they think about even like marketing, the way they look at social media, the way they use it is very different than the way I use it. I always ask my 17-year-old, like, how you use it? Like, what are the things that you use it for? And I learn a lot from them, to me. So I'm comfortable having been mentored by the next generation, because I felt like it's the aggregate of the collective wisdom that we have that would make us better. And I believe in continuous learning. And I always I just spoke to someone today, one of my mentees said, if you really want to be a leader, you need to be a leader who's continuously believe in learning. Learning is one of the pillars you need to have to be a good leader, right? You need to always learn. And I always said, I'm never smart. But I said, I love to learn, because the more I learn, the more I could share.
And the fact that you value continuous learning or lifelong learning, I think that's partly the reason why you continue to seek out, mentorship relationships and continue to learn from others. What advice do you have for someone who, maybe a senior executive or maybe just a mid-career person that is sort of resistant to mentorship for whatever reason? It could be that they have a blockage of some sort, or they feel like they're not, smart enough to share their wisdom, whatever the deal is. What advice would you have for them so that they could see mentorship from a different perspective so that it actually helps them in the long run?
Each and every one of us has a story in us. And that story sometimes need to be heard by other people because they could be going through the same challenges or the same difficulties or obstacle that you've gone through. And if they could hear your story, that's a borrowed experience. They don't have to go through the same pain, suffering, and sleepless night because you have gone through that journey and you could tell them that story. In many ways, the reason why I value mentoring to even from a senior level, right? So I always said, I'm not smart, so I need to really catch up. So I always look at even my peers now, they're amazed because I would say, I want to learn client communication from you. You are the best. Can we sit down and you tell me how you do it? And then I go to the next person. I want to learn negotiation from you because we've been in numerous situations where your ability to negotiate was the winning thing for us. It seals the deal. And I personally was like surprised. I was in awe, but I want to learn it, right? Understanding who has something you don't have, not from a comparative and envious perspective or feeling bad about perspective, is I want to learn. The curiosity and willingness to learn is what, inspired me to always like, I want to benchmark. You're good at this. I want to learn from you. Can we spend time? And they'd be like, why? Because you're good at it. And I explained to them how I observed that they did a good job in doing certain things. And I said, please, can we spend 30 minutes? You tell me how you did it. And I write my note. And I said, you don't mind? I write notes down. And I keep the note because I believe that that's my way of learning. It's like, that's my way of leveling my knowledge up. I think a big part of it is being comfortable and humble, that you are not the smartest in the room, and being comfortable that you're not the smartest in the room. Even with my team right now, a group of Agile coach, I always tell them, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're all more experienced than I am. In fact, I probably have the least knowledge compared to all of you. So you tell me how you're going to do it. Let's brainstorm and let's figure out how to do it. Because by using that approach, you get people to tell you all the insights and thoughts and knowledge and expertise, and you could come up with the best approach.
That seems like a very effective approach, through supporting and coaching others rather than, talking down and simply directing or giving orders, right? Because you're right. Everyone has their ideas of how things should work. Everyone has, their own ways of doing things, and for someone to step into their lives and say, "This is how you should do this." And I think as a trained coach, you and I would both agree that problem solving or trying to problem solve people's lives is never the solution, right? But rather just allowing individuals to open their own eyes and realize on their own, what's going on and how they could, solve or resolve their own issues or problems.
Yep, through powerful questions.
Yes, through powerful questioning. So, well, when you think about your professional journey, what's one thing that you're deeply grateful for?
For some of the managers that don't know me that well but took a chance on me. I have one manager in particular. I've worked with him. I've known him for 23 years. And the first time I reported into his organization 23 years ago, I'm an unknown entity. I'm a contractor working on a team. Head of the department, the team left and another person left. And then it just became a few of us. And he was asking, like, how do we go from here? And I raised my hand. I was like, I'm really interested to be a team lead. And we had a dialogue about the work that needs to get done. He's like, don't really know you. But I said, give me a chance. I just want you to give me a chance. But if it doesn't work out, I'm okay. I'm willing to move on myself. And he took a chance on me. And by taking a chance on me, I pay him back by doing a good job, right? To me, that's what my dad always said. Always do a good job. Don't try, always do it, right? And if it's not a good job, improve it, right? Be willing to say, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I can make it better, right? Being willing to acknowledge that you could do a better job and get it better and continue. And to me, I think in my 33 years career, that one person, I think if he hears this video, he probably know who he is. And yeah, he took a chance. And in fact, I thanked him like 2 weeks ago. I mentioned to
Wow.
him that, wow, you took a chance on me. Like, no, you did the work. I said, I know I did the work, but you opened the door for me, right? There's two actually. The one other person is the person who offered me a job from Singapore to US.
Mm.
I had dinner with him probably 7 years ago. Out of the blue, I just like, oh my God, I want to thank this person. So I reached out to him. He's no longer in the industry. He has a different business. I messaged him. I said, do you remember me? He's like, yeah, sort of. And I kind of introduced my background. He's like, yeah, now I remember you. Can we go out for dinner? He's like, why? I said, I want to thank you. I said, I want to go back in my career and thank the people who opened the door, right? Those are the people that made a difference in my life. And I'm paying that forward, right? Is the crack opened the door and I managed to get in and I did my work. But without those door opening, I'll never be where I am today. I got to where I am because two people opened doors for me. And therefore, if I could open door for people, why not? It doesn't cost me anything to have a conversation, put a time investment in figuring out what are the facts about this person that I could share. Because I always believe that the problem that I'm facing, it's nothing compared to I came from the Philippines. We're a third world country. I've seen what hard looks like. I've seen what poor look like. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. So I always said to myself, there's not a problem that I faced that's not worse than many people. So I should never be complaining. I should never be whining. I should always be appreciative of what I have. In fact, I started what I call winning the day. The day is the first thing I do when I wake up is when my alarm goes off, I don't just press snooze. I get up. I need to get up. The first thing I force myself to get up, I fix my bed. That's my first win of the day. I pray. I thank God for the gift of a new day. I don't deserve it. Like, I got this gift. I need to make the most out of it. And then I exercise, right? I exercise. I already accomplished three things, right? Most people are just wondering what they're going to do throughout the day. I said to myself, I win the day. I had three things that I said I did, and I just need to add more. And to me, having that discipline and developing that habit makes things easier to dress every day. Things, no matter what challenge I'm faced, I already had three wins of the day. I already accomplished three things.
So what would be your advice for people that are just, constantly going at it and not really taking the time to stop and smell the roses and to be present in different moments? What is your advice for leaders that are doing that right now and not focusing on what we're talking about?
I'm not sure I'm the best person for advice, but I would share what I do. I
Mhm.
always said to myself, what's the most important thing to me? And
Mm.
why am I doing it? And the other aspect I always said to myself, I'm not here tomorrow. I'm gone.
Mhm.
What would people remember, right? What would my family remember?
Mhm.
Is that important to me that I need to do this thing, do that thing? Or is it important for me to spend time? So to me, it's about the moment, the relationship, the importance of how I understand what's important to us,
Mhm.
what's important to me, what's important to my family. And as a parent, we always also prioritize our children ahead of us. That's typical Chinese. You do give it to them, not to you. And understanding the importance of how does that help them, right? And make those decisions. They're not easy. They're never easy. That's the hardest part, right? And I struggle too, right? But you actually have to be really mindful about, is this that important to me? That's why one of the things I taught my children when they were growing up is they want me to buy this. I said, honey, that's too expensive. And remember, like a week after you don't want it anymore, I want you to think about the gift of experience. I want you to
Mhm.
travel. That's why we travel. I want us to travel. I want you to see the world. I want you to immerse yourself in the culture, do the things that people there do, eat the food that they have, because that's staying with us forever.
Mhm.
None of these material things that we buy, we could take with us. But that memory we had, like, it's amazing because every year we tried to travel, except for pandemic, we weren't able to travel. But the kids would mention it during our dinner discussion about, hey, my dad, remember when we went here? And I was like, oh my God, I don't even remember that anymore, right? Like, but they remember. And that becomes the foundation of our dialogue and discussion. So it furthermore reaffirmed that the gift of experience is super important. And also knowing what your priority. That's why I said I'm probably not positioned to give people advice, but I base on what is really important to me. And for my family, when I'm not here tomorrow, what do they remember from me? Did I just spend more time in the office and not spend time with them? What's important? And going back to that, is important. Is it important? Is it going to matter to me if I don't do this?
That's a great takeaway. Well, I think we can leave our audience to think about, and asking very question of, is that important when something comes up, right? To ask yourself that question. When I look around, especially the state of this country, there's so much confusion around identities, around values, around, what should be important to us. And I think especially the Gen Zs that are being absorbed, or they're absorbing a lot of this, I don't want to say negativity, but all of this confusion that's being created by the society, by the media. And this message right now that we're talking about, and on the topic of, thinking of what's most important to you right now and focusing on that, I think that is going to be one of the biggest takeaways for many of those people that are, still trying to figure things out. Well, this is, I think, what I would consider this to be my $1 million question. What's your superpower, Will?
Superpower. I would say I don't even know. I can't even call it superpower. I would call it empathy.
Empathy.
Empathy. I truly empathize with people. I try not to say I know how you feel. I try to I'm here for you. I understand what's going on. And in fact, I had one person that the one former direct report, and he no longer works with me, but we just had a call. We were in the same call together, and I could sense something is not right with him. And that's probably my gift, right? I won't call it superpower. When I see someone, I see if they have trouble, something's troubling them. I could sense, and I would ask questions. So I asked him, I said, is everything okay? He said, not really, but can we talk? I said, sure, I'll give you the time. So I had to talk with him and he shared about, because one of my good friends passed away. He was 47, a total chap, young, healthy. And I was telling him that story, how you need to value your moment and how you need to value your time, how you need to think about what you're doing today. Is it important, right? And he was like, when his friend passed away, he remembered that discussion. Is it important, right? And he was like, and I just want to share the pain that I'm feeling because a friend of mine passed away. And the worst part is another friend of his passed away a few days later. So there's two within his friend circle. And he was like sharing me the pain, and I was just empathizing to him. And then in the end, he said, "Thank you for hearing me out." I said, "No, that's the least I could do, and I'm actually here for you. If you need more time for someone to listen to you, I'm here. Call me. Don't think that you need to carry this burden yourself. And I know that you're going through a lot right now. I know, and I'm sorry, but I'm here for you. But take good care of yourself. Do not skip a meal. Do not sleep. I know all of this pain is hard, but take care of yourself because you have family. Think of that important family. They're the cornerstone of your life. So make sure you take good care of yourself too. And it's a tough conversation, but I think I'm learning that something's going on with people. I think many people told me that because I would see them and I would ask them the question, "Are you really okay?" And then sometimes they would say, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "No, you're not. Do you want to talk?" I would say that's a gift. That's a gift of mine.
Yeah, I agree with you. Being highly intuitive and with that sense of empathy, that's what makes you such a great coach, right? And anyone would be so lucky to have a coach like you in their corner. So that's great.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, of course. Will, how can our listeners support you and your work?
Listening to my podcast, I have a podcast on Spotify and iTunes. It's called I Will Aim, one word, I Will Aim. It's the leadership program that I created. Listen to my podcast. And if you're looking for a coach, someone to help you grow and develop, I'll be more than happy to work with them too.
That's great. My final question, what was your favorite part of this episode?
The favorite part of my episode is being able to relate to you. Usually, when I have a host interviewing me, it's like question and answer. No story. I can't dovetail what I talk about. But with you, it's like free flowing. It's weird because I know you well, but I don't really know you that well, but because of the exchange of story, how it became a free-flowing exchange, that's the part I love. That would be my takeaway, because I've been interviewed a couple times already, and I felt like it's like question, answer, question, answer, question. Your ability to your talent of taking my response and summarizing it, right? That's a gift. That's your gift. That I would say is what made this whole conversation really enjoyable. I really enjoyed because you took a response and you summarize it and you feed it back to me, and then you ask me more questions. It become a true conversation. I wouldn't even imagine it's an interview. It's more like a conversation. I felt comfortable over time, more at ease, more comfortable. At first, I was really nervous about it, but over the period of time, I think that's the best part. You make the conversation flow naturally because
Oh,
of your gift.
you are very
Thank you
kind,
very
sir.
much.
And thank you. And, I think we share so many same values, right? Because of the work we do. And I identified myself in so many of your stories, and I said, wow, this is so great. And before we started this episode, I obviously know about your background, and we've had many conversations before, but truly, getting up close and personal and hearing you talk about your leadership journey, your family values. I mean, this in itself was such a rewarding experience for me to sort of step into your life and, seeing and understanding your perspective and your take on life and leadership. So thank you so much, Will, for your valuable time today. And I can't wait for our listeners to, hear your stories and to learn about your work and to ultimately follow your work. So we'll be
Thanks.
sure to make sure of leaving all the notes and the links to your profile for on the show and the links below. But other than that, I just want to again thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for all of the work that you guys do as leaders and, following our stories and, and also learning from amazing leaders like Will here today. So with that, we want to close the show. But again, Will, thank you so much. And I hope that you can break your fast with something, soon, something delicious, I hope.
Yes. Thank you, Angie, for this opportunity. This is a gift to me. I really appreciate it. You gave me a gift of opportunity to share my story, and hopefully some people could take something away from it and walk away feeling better. And I think that's how we make the world a better place.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you for those last words. Again, Will, have a great rest of your day and we'll talk soon. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.